we now return to the 5th annual FANNIE Awards.
Hello guys, welcome back to the 5th annual FANNIE Awards. It's day 9. It's the second last day, which is almost as good as the last day. It's actually second as good. That doesn't make any sense. Today we're giving out the silver medal for my number 2 favorite film of the year, and we're going to give out the award for most disappointing film too, but we'll get there when we get there. First and foremost, my number 2 film of the year. What was it? Why waste time? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. If you watched the FANNIE Awards yesterday, and I really hope you did, you remembered me saying that I really value original concepts a lot, and I'm kind of bummed out by the fact that, it's not the 80s anymore where you have new, fresh franchises being born every other week. Now you have one born every decade, if you're lucky. John Wick was the one born last decade. And when that first movie blew the doors off of movie theaters across the world, it only made sense for them to greenlight a sequel. And now all of a sudden, here we are, John Wick Chapter 3 has come out, and it somehow does what we have said before on this show, the impossible in cinema, where every installment has been better than the last. How did they do that? I don't know, but John Wick did it. John Wick Chapter 3 could have been just another giant slugfest where Keanu Reeves runs around and punches and kicks people in the face because he doesn't like them. And yeah, if you want to look at it through a certain lens, that's pretty much what it is, but there's so much more to it than that. The John Wick world gave us this amazing, detailed universe to play in where you have all these assassins and these gold coins that they trade with and these sacred hotels and all these rules and regulations and this mysterious high table that we haven't even seen yet. All of that couples together for a gorgeous sandbox that we have spent 3 movies playing in, and if rumors can be believed, we are going to spend a few more movies playing in as well. I'm not going to spoil anything regarding what happens in the plot of John Wick Chapter 3, but what I love about it is this is not the kind of movie that's just, now in this movie he's mad at this person for these reasons, and fight. It's not like that. The story that began in the first second of John Wick Chapter 1 is still the same story that's going on in the final second of John Wick Chapter 3. If you know me, you know how much I love long-form storytelling and cliffhanger endings and all that good stuff, and John Wick is full of those. John Wick 3 began, literally the story takes place, I think, minutes after John Wick 2. That's what we're looking at here, folks. We are looking at a genuine, bona fide epic. And those are hard to find now. You don't find epic franchises being born that much anymore. It just doesn't happen. Not like it used to, anyway. So take all of those things that you know I love, big franchises with huge worlds to play in, telling long-form stories that end in cliffhangers and all that stuff. You know that this is tailor-made for me. There is no way this could have been any lower than number 2 on my list. And on top of that, you have, quite frankly, some of the best stunts in the world taking place. These stunt people are doing the best work that's happening on the planet right now when it comes to combat. You can't get any better than that. And it pays dividends because when I saw John Wick in the theater, that was the most vocal theater I have been in all year. More than the theater for Endgame, more than the theater for Star Wars. Every punch that was being thrown, every gunshot, all the fights that were happening, the whole theater around me was like, oh, look at that. Holy crap. Everybody was reacting with their heart and soul. And when you get that kind of reaction out of an audience, you know you're doing something right. So John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, congrats, honey. You are my number 2 favorite film of 2019. But now, it's time to take all of that positivity and all of that praise and push it to the side. Because, folks, we need to give out a very unpleasant award right now. We need to give out the award for the most disappointing film of 2019. There are movies that are so bad they're good, and we can't help but love them. But then there are movies that should have been good, but weren't. And those are the ones that cut the deepest. Our 5 nominees tonight are those 5 kinds of movies. Movies that you should have walked away from feeling like, wow, I just saw something cool. Instead, you walked away from them, or at least I walked away from them saying, wow, I just paid for that? This is a dirty job, but somebody's gotta do it. Tonight's nominees for the most disappointing film of 2019 are Glass, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Hellboy, Rambo Last Blood, Us. I know, I'm sorry you had to even be reminded that those movies existed. Please stop booing, I get it. It's just a thing that we need to get through. Trust me, by tomorrow you'll forget all these movies existed again. But for those 5 films, please step forward, because one of you is about to walk home with the very unfortunate Fannie of most disappointing. And that film will be Hellboy. Those first 2 Guillermo del Toro Hellboy movies had the kind of stink of early 2000s comic book movies to them. But they also had the love, the TLC that Del Toro puts into all his films, so that balanced it out, and they ended up being pretty great. I personally am a big fan of those 2 films, particularly the second one. I think they're awesome. However, I believe there is room for improvement. So when 2009 came along and said, hey, I'm a fancy year, and I have a reboot for you. I'm going to take the motion pictures Hellboy and Hellboy 2 and reboot them. It's going to be different. It's not going to be Guillermo del Toro anymore. We're going to take the guy, Ron Perlman, and we're going to replace him with the dude who plays Hopper in Stranger Things, because everybody likes Stranger Things right now. And it's going to be more comic booky and fun and colorful and wacky. And I was like, sold. This sounds really cool. I'm kind of bummed that we're not getting Hellboy 3, because Guillermo had big plans for it. But all right, I'll take this reboot. Show us what you got. And what they got is garbage. Okay, first of all, this movie suffers from something I like to call dear God, shut up syndrome. You see this a lot in movies that have puppets in them, like Howard the Duck or the first Ninja Turtles movies with the Jim Henson creature puppets, where characters somehow feel like even though they're not on screen, they still need to be making noise with their mouths. One of the main villains of this movie is this giant pig man, like a big boar guy with a thick Scottish accent, and he never stops saying things. Like, at all. There could be a scene where he's in a room with all the other characters, and the other characters are actually talking and you know, saying exposition and trying to get the story moving forward, and he's just off to the side lying on a couch. He's not even involved in the conversation, but he'll still be like, I need a beer. And I'm just like, please, God, shut up. And the sad thing is, it shouldn't be my job to say that. It should be the job of somebody at some point during the production of this film. During some meeting, somebody should have put up their hand and said, hey guys, I know we're trying to make a good movie here, so can we please muzzle the friggin' pig? Please. Second thing, this sounds really mean, and I don't like being mean, but I have to say this. If you are going to hire an actor to play a character who has an accent, please make sure that actor can convincingly do that accent before you hire them. Sasha Lane's character was British. Sasha Lane is not British. And you can tell. I mean, all you had to do was either hire a dialect coach or hire somebody else who could do the accent right. And you chose to do neither. And I feel so bad saying that. I don't want to knock on Sasha Lane. I'm sure she's a great person. I have nothing but good wishes for her. I hope her career takes off into the stratosphere and she does phenomenally. But, girl, that British accent was horrendous. Third, I can't remember the last time I've seen comedy fall so flat and so flinchingly flat. You know all those scenes in the Joker movie where Arthur Fleck is trying to do his stand-up comedy routine, but it's not really funny, and then he starts laughing because he's got his condition, and everybody in the audience is just like really uncomfortable, and they're like, oh God, is this guy going to be doing this set for a whole other hour? And you just cringe because it's so not funny. That's how the jokes were in Hellboy. But they were actually trying to be quippy and clever because the Hellboy characters are quippy and clever, and it all just kept falling flat on its face. I can't remember a single time in this movie where I chuckled and I was waiting for it. And it's not hard to make me laugh. If you know me, that's a very easy thing to do. I'm not like some stick in the mud who's like, I'm not amused by any of this nonsense. Not at all. This is preposterous nonsense. I'm not that kind of guy. I laugh at everything. I'm laughing right now thinking about lemons. Lemons are kind of funny. Hellboy could not do in 2 hours what Lemons just did in 5 seconds. That's not good. Fourth and final point here. For me, the cardinal sin of movie making is when you decide to reboot or remake something and you don't learn from its mistakes. Yes, the Del Toro Hellboys have the stench of the early 2000s action comic book movies to them, but you can kind of forgive them for that because, hey, they came out in the early 2000s. This Hellboy came out in 2019. It still has that stench. There's no excuse anymore. Why are you not learning from the mistake? That is the whole point of rebooting something. So if you're going to shun making something original and fun like John Wick that we can all get behind, if you're going to shun that to just remake something with a popular name so you can cash in on the name, you better damn well make sure that what you're remaking is better than what came before, because otherwise you're just wasting everybody's time and money. And that's exactly what Hellboy did, and that's why, to me, this is the biggest sin of all. This is what cements it as the worst film of 2019. So Hellboy, take your fanny and get out. Please leave. Anyway, that has been day 9 of the 2019 Fannie Awards. We have 1 day left ahead of us. Who is that gold medal going to? Well, there's 1 movie left, and you're going to find out what it is tomorrow in roughly 24 hours or so. I don't know. I can't promise anything. But I will see you then, guys. The Fannie Awards will continue for 1 more day.